Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. We ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to grant us all the sincere intentions. We had mentioned in our previous session, in this short biography of our master Ibrahim alayhi salam, that Nimrod, the evil king that claimed godhood, tried to execute Ibrahim alayhi salam by catapulting him into a raging fire. Allah punished Nimrod in this life as well as in the next life. He was ordered to accept al-Islam 3 times, but he refused. Then Nimrod, on one occasion when he was gathering an army, it was attacked by insects. These insects ate the flesh of the soldiers, and they left their dead skeletons. Then one of those insects, it was sent to Nimrod, and it went through his nostril and up his nose. And he felt the great pain of that. And it continued to cause him pain in the cavity of his head. And it would not go away, it would not calm, it would not subside unless his head was struck. So Nimrod would ask, and this is someone who degraded a prophet, and so Allah created a degraded status for this person, a situation in which he would be degraded. So he would order his people to hit him in the head, whether that be with a shoe or a belt or some type of hammer is narrated. He would ask them to hit him on the head so that he would have some peace. But this is degrading because you can't be smacked in the head and get peace. Yeah, from the insect, yes, but from the blow of the hammer, of course not. It's narrated that he was in this condition for about 400 years until he died. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, on one occasion he lived amongst some people whom Allah mentioned in the Quran. A particular story was narrated in the Quran about them. Allah revealed, فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلُ رَأَى كَوْكَبًا. When night fell, Ibrahim alayhi salam saw a star. The people of this area, there were a large number of them that worshipped things that appeared in the sky. Stars, the sun, and the moon. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, this messenger of Allah, the second best of all the prophets, he wanted now to take this as an opportunity to teach them that what they are worshipping is false. So Allah narrated this story in the Quran. When night fell upon them and Ibrahim alayhi salam saw a star, قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي. He said, is this my Lord? Meaning, is this what you claim is my Lord? Is this, O people, this star, is this what you are claiming I should worship? Is this what you are claiming is God? This is called a negative interrogative, which means that you ask a question, but you don't really want the answer. But the purpose for asking the question is to negate the statement. So it's like when somebody says, am I stupid? Which means, I'm not stupid. And like this. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he mentioned, هَذَا رَبِّي, meaning, is this my Lord that you claim I should worship? In other words, this is not my Lord. Some people, subhanallah, because they don't learn the religious knowledge in the correct way, they ended up accusing who they believe to be a messenger of Allah, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. They accused him of being confused and initially worshipping a star. And this is kufr. How would someone say about someone who is a prophet that they doubt, is this my Lord or not? Wal-'iyadhu billah. So somebody who reads a translation of the Quran that is translated by Allah, Allah knows best who it's translated by, it might say there that Ibrahim said, this is my Lord. But in actual fact, this is a literary technique, there's a literary device used here in the Arabic language. هَذَا رَبِّي, meaning, هَلْ هَذَا رَبِّي الَّذِي تَزْعُمُونَ, is this my Lord that you claim to be? Is this who you claim is my God? So those people who read that Ibrahim supposedly said, this is my Lord, they believe that a prophet of Allah committed kufr or was a kafir. This is in itself kufr. فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ قَالَ لَا أُحِبُّ الْآفِلِينَ. When the star set, because the stars move, after a while when the star, it went to another part of the sky, or it disappeared because it set. Like the moon, it rises, the moon. You see it in different parts of the sky in the night. When the sun goes down, the moon comes up from that area, from the west, and it moves. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he mentioned to them, is this who you claim, what you claim is my Lord? Then he waited a little bit, and that very star set. Then he said, لا أحب الآفلين. I do not like these things that change, that set. Meaning, I do not worship these matters that change. Now, the scholars of Islam, when they explained this verse of the Quran, they said Ibrahim alayhi salam was using an intellectual proof, which is that he wants to teach the people that things that change, they are in need. So the star changes position. The star goes from being in one position to another position to completely setting. It is in need, because it changes, it needs one to change it. So because it's in need, it can't be God. So this was an intellectual proof. So he said, La uhibbul afilin. Literally, I don't love things that set, meaning, I don't worship that. Don't you see? You've claimed that this is my Lord, O people. And I'm telling you, this is not my Lord, and here's the proof. It moves. It changes. It requires a mover, if you will. It requires a changer from state to state. So it itself is in need. فَلَمَّا رَأَى الْقَمَرَ بَازِغًا قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي. Then when he saw the moon also, he said, is this the Lord, your Lord, that you want me to worship? Is this who you claim is the one that is worthy of worship? This, the moon? Is this what you claim is my Lord? فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ قَالَ لَئِن لَّمْ يَهْدِنِي رَبِّي لَأَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الضَّالِّينَ. Then when the moon disappeared, the moon set. It ran its course when it's set. He said that had Allah not guided me, like anybody, had Allah not guided them, then they would be misguided people. Meaning, Alhamdulillah, I worship Allah. I don't worship these things that change. فَلَمَّا رَأَى الشَّمْسَ بَازِغَةً قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي هَذَا أَكْبَرُ. Then he saw the sun on another day, and he said to them, is this my Lord that you claim I should worship? You claim that the sun is God? He said, this one is bigger. It's bigger than the star that I told you about, and it doesn't deserve to be worshipped because it changes. It's bigger also than the moon that we looked at, and it doesn't deserve to be worshipped. It's bigger than both of those, and it also doesn't deserve to be worshipped. Why? It has a shape, it has a size. It needs one to give it a shape, so it's in need. It needs one to give it that size. It needs one to make it, to put it in the position that it is. فَلَمَّا أَفَلَتْ قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِّمَّا تُشْرِكُونَ. When the sun set, he said, O people, I am free. I'm washing my hands of what you worship. I wash my hands of what you worship. I've never worshipped them, and I will never worship them. And I've proven to you that they do not deserve to be worshipped. Now this that Ibrahim alayhi salam used is known as an intellectual proof. It's logical. He used his mind. Then Allah revealed about this proof that Allah bestowed upon Ibrahim. Allah is the bestower. Allah is the one that gives. Allah revealed about this intellectual proof. وَتِلْكَ حُجَّتُنَا آتَيْنَاهَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ عَلَى قَوْمِهِ نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتٍ مَّن نَّشَاءُ. Allah revealed, وَتِلْكَ حُجَّتُنَا. You know, in the Quran, sometimes it's mentioned, Baytullah, which if taken literally about the Kaaba, means the house of Allah. Allah revealed it like this. Allah Ta'ala revealed His name with the Kaaba, the house of Allah, to show that the house, this Kaaba, has a high status. Okay? Like Prophet Isa alayhi salam, he is known as Ruhullah, the soul, the special soul that Allah created. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala attributed this soul, okay, to being a special soul. The name of Allah was used there, Ruhullah. Why? To show that this soul has a high status. This proof that Allah gave to Ibrahim alayhi salam, the intellectual one, which shows that something that changes cannot be worshipped. It does not deserve to be worshipped. Allah revealed about it, وَتِلْكَ حُجَّتُنَا, يعني حُجَّتُllَّهِ, meaning this is a proof that Allah has given. This is like to say the proof of Allah, like the house of Allah. This is the proof of Allah, a refutation that Allah gave to Ibrahim alayhi salam. آتَيْنَاهَا Ibrahim, that Allah gave. Allah revealed, we gave, i.e. Allah. We gave to Ibrahim alayhi salam ala qawmihi, over his people. نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتٍ مَّن نَّشَاءُ. And Allah Ta'ala raises the status of whomever He wills. So the use of the intellect, using rational arguments, this is the way of the Muslims. We do not follow the literal and the apparent meanings of all of the ayahs of the Quran without interpretation, without making it in line with the intellect. We don't do that, because if the whole Quran was to be read literally, without figurative speech, without metaphors, without, like in English, similes and so on, if it was to be read like that, it would become contradictory. And the Quran, the Arabic language, it has a much higher eloquence than the English language. So it has many, many, many more literary devices than the English language. And on top of that also, there are intellectual proofs that are mentioned within the Quran, like this one. So Allah praised that intellectual proof. There are some people nowadays, however, who say that you cannot interpret the Quran. By that they contradict all of those scholars that came in the time of the companions too, who gave non-literal meanings to some of the ayahs. Otherwise they would have been contradictory. So then after this, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he took his wife, Lady Sarah, to Egypt, where there was an evil king. Lady Sarah, so after living in Palestine, Ibrahim alayhi salam had been in Iraq, in Babylon. Then he moved to Palestine. Then he left Palestine to go to Egypt. And that's because there was a famine. For this reason, he left Palestine with his wife. When he arrived in Egypt, there was a pharaoh who was also a very unjust ruler, a tyrant. And he used to commit a lot of adultery, wal-'iyadhu billah, specifically with married, beautiful women. This was his habit. So Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam said to his wife that if this tyrant knows that you are my wife, he will use force against you and me, and he will try to take you from me. So he told her, if he asks you, then tell him that you are my sister, meaning sister in Islam. So remember what we said in some of the other sessions, prophets don't lie. Prophets would never, ever, ever lie. And if somebody was to claim that a prophet lied, then this is blasphemy. This makes a person commit kufr. So Ibrahim alayhi salam here, he didn't lie, because a husband can say about his wife, this is my sister, i.e. in Islam. A person can say about their mother that she is my sister in Islam. This is not a lie. So to save themselves, Ibrahim alayhi salam said, if they ask you, if the guards ask you who you are to me, say you are my sister in Islam. So you might say that you are my sister, and they might understand something else from it. But what you meant was something valid. It's not like a person asks, so what are you drinking? And a person said orange juice, but they meant water. Because the language, it doesn't carry that meaning in the language. So some of the assistants of this tyrant saw Sarah, and she was a very beautiful woman. And they said to the tyrant, we've seen a woman that arrived in your land, and we see it that she should only be yours due to her extreme beauty. So he said, bring her to me. When Ibrahim alayhi salam learned about that, then he started to pray. As is the case of the pious believers. They resort to prayer in hard times. The Muslims, when we have a hardship, what we've been advised to do is donate in secret and to stand in prayer. So we stand in prayer. It could be the Dhuhr prayer, the Asr prayer, or if it's a time where a person can pray the optional prayers, then the optional prayer. So let that be one of the first things that you do. If you fear a hardship coming on, if you fear that someone has an accident, for example, and you fear that it might be really, really bad and its result, go and donate for the sake of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Sadaqatu sir taqi masari' as-su'." Sadaqah meaning donating for the sake of Allah. It doesn't mean zakah. So if you donate for the sake of Allah, you give to a poor person, or you donate, okay? You go to the Islamic center, for example, or you go to the masjid, you put it in the box. Then this, for the sake of Allah, it distances hardships from a person, a hardship that you might fear. So don't forget that. The Prophet mentioned that, alayhi salatu wassalam. And what he said was, sadaqatu sir. A sir in Arabic means a secret. So a secret donation. So a person doesn't need to tell other people about it. Person donates such that, as the example is in the hadith, such that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is given. It means to not tell people. And also a person should stand in prayer. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he stood in prayer. So when Lady Sarah entered the quarters of the Pharaoh, he was very ill-mannered. He was a disgusting human being. He had this fetish of having his people bring married women to him. So although Ibrahim alayhi salam said to the people, "Innaha ukhti," which can mean she is my sister, and it can mean she is my sister in Islam. And that doesn't stop her from being his wife, of course. But even though he said that, because of her beauty, they took her anyway. So because of his ill manners, when he was alone with her, this Pharaoh, this is other than the Pharaoh of Musa alayhi salam, that Pharaoh, he came much later. So he outstretched his hand to her to touch her. Because she was a pious lady, because she was God-fearing, his hand froze where it was. He tried to touch her, his hand froze, and it caused him excruciating pain. And something fell in his heart that he felt that this is because of her, because she is an honorable, noble woman. So he said to her, "Pray for me." While in that situation, he was in pain. He said, "Pray for me." So she did. And his hand, it came back to how it was. So, and now look at how evil he was. He tried again in the same sitting, the same gathering, he tried again. And his hand, it shriveled up and it caused him excruciating pain. And then he said to her, "Make dua for me." So she did. Then he told the people, his assistants, he said, "You did not bring me a human, you brought me a demon." He said, "You did not bring me a human being, you brought me a demon." So the king, he attempted once, twice, he attempted 3 times actually. And then he said, "Take her away, you have brought me a devil, not a human. Take her out of my land." And he gave her a slave woman, Lady Hajar. Lady Hajar, who many generations later, who comes from her lineage? Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he had Sayyiduna Ishaq from his wife, Lady Sarah. And then from Ishaq, the son of Ishaq was, do you remember who? No, that was his brother. The son of Ishaq was Yaqub alayhi salam. Yaqub alayhi salam had 12 sons, among them Yusuf, among them Binyamin. And then from these 12 sons came all of the other prophets. Musa alayhi salam, Zakaria alayhi salam, Dawood, Sulaiman, Hizqeel, and then Isa alayhi salam, and many, many others. Hundreds came from these 12 brothers' lineages. They are Bani Israel. But Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, so this was from his wife Sarah, from Ishaq, and then all the others. As for Lady Hajar, she gifted, no, Lady Sarah, she received Lady Hajar, right, as a gift from this Pharaoh. He said, throw her out of my land, take her away and give her a slave woman, an honorable slave woman, Lady Hajar. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, later on, Lady Sarah, his wife, gifted him this slave woman to serve him. And this is permissible. This is permissible for, so we're talking about Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, just like our Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, he had many wives and he was also gifted a slave, Lady Maria al-Qibtiyya radiyallahu anha, and she bore him a son, Sayyidina Ibrahim, the son of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, named after Ibrahim alayhi salam. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was granted a son through Lady Hajar radiyallahu anha, and that was Ismail. And from Ismail alayhi salam's lineage, there were no other prophets except Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. So Lady Sarah had reached an age at which now she couldn't have children. And she didn't have any children before that. So Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, he had with Lady Hajar, he had Prophet Ismail alayhi salam. Now that's why Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam said, "Istawsu bi ahli Misr khayran, fa inna lahum dhimmatan wa rahima." That if you conquer Egypt, he said to his companions, our Prophet said to his companions, if you conquer Egypt, then, and the people embrace Islam and so on, be soft with the people. Why? Because these people, they have a blood tie to me. In what sense? Because Lady Hajar, she was from Egypt. And she is the great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So he said, if you conquer Egypt, then pay good attention and treat the people of Egypt well, because they have a bloodline to me. Yani silat al-rahim. So he meant that the relationship between the people of Egypt and the Arabs is tied to Lady Hajar radiyallahu anha, with her being the mother of all of the Arabs. Now Prophet Ismail alayhi salam, he was not an Arab. He was not an Arab. But because he was a prophet, and this is a special case to do with him only, Ismail alayhi salam, because he was a prophet, and a prophet encompasses all of the language, including the idioms, the parables, the figurative speech, all of a language. So Prophet Ismail alayhi salam, later on when he was taken to Mecca, he mixed in with some of the Arabs there. Ibrahim alayhi salam didn't speak Arabic, of course. They spoke either Hebrew or Syriac. So Ismail alayhi salam, when he went to Mecca, Ibrahim alayhi salam took him and the mother of Ismail. He grew up there, and there is the whole story of the Sa'i and the Zamzam, the well. Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam, after Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam made dua, Ya Allah, make people come to that place. Now, the Kaaba wasn't there anymore. Why? Because it had been destroyed in the flood of Nuh alayhi salam. It was a barren valley. It was arid land, nothing could grow there. So then the well of Zamzam came, and wherever there is water, there are people. Look at the Nile, it's in the middle of a desert, but people live there. People live in Cairo and around the Nile, millions of people. So Ismail alayhi salam, what did he do? He mixed in with the Arabs, and because he was a prophet, he acquired the language of the Arabs, the habits of the Arabs, the poetry of the Arabs. He knew about it. And then he married a woman from the tribe of Bani Jurhum, they were Arabs. So he was the first person and the only person in history who became an Arab. These people are known, or he was known as Al-Musta'rab. He became, or Al-Musta'rib, he became an Arab. I don't mean by that today, like you go somewhere, you stay there for 20 years and they give you citizenship. Not like that. Okay, he actually became an Arab. So then from him came, all the way many generations down, came Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Okay, so Ismail alayhi salam was the legitimate son of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, of course. Later, Lady Sarah was miraculously given the ability to have a child. We had said that she couldn't have children anymore. She was about 90 years of age at the time. So the angels gave her the good news of the birth of a child that would come to them, and a son that would come to him called Yaqub. It's before this happened that Sayyiduna Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was given the order to slaughter Ismail. Now, what is good and what is bad, it's not down to my opinion. It's not down to your opinion. It's not down to our opinion at all. It's what Al-Islam says is good and what Al-Islam says is bad. Some things that have always been bad are damaging the mind with alcohol, with drugs. Something that's always been bad is al-kufr, worshipping other than Allah. This has always been bad. But there are other things that in some situations, right, they might have been considered good in one nation, according to the Islamic rules, and they would have been considered bad in another nation. I'll give you an example. In the nation of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, in those rules that came to Yusuf alayhi salam, it was permissible for a person, out of respect, to do sajda to another person, out of respect, not worship. It was permissible, it was valid. Also, when the angels ordered to do sajda, prostrate to Adam alayhi salam. But now, in the rules of Islam, so of course, in the time of Yusuf alayhi salam, he followed al-Islam. But in those rules, it was permissible to do that, because it was set for those people at that time. Now, and they were the best rules for those people at that time. Now, from the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam until the Day of Judgment, the best rules are the ones that have been revealed to him. And in these laws, it's not permissible for a person, a human being, to prostrate to another human being out of respect. It's haram. It's haram for a person to do that to a person out of respect. Yes, if they intend to worship this person, then this is kufr, of course. But that's an example of something that was okay in one nation, Islamic nation, and it's not okay in this nation. So morality, the huge question of morality that sometimes people speak about, is it good, is it bad, where is your moral compass? What? Morality goes back to what? Goes back to what the Islamic law says. in the time of Musa alayhi salam, there were some people who left Islam after having said, La ilaha illallah Musa Rasulullah, after having been Muslims, they committed kufr. They did something and they committed kufr. So it was revealed to Musa alayhi salam, of course, who was Muslim. It was revealed to Musa alayhi salam that these people, of course, they are obligated to embrace al-Islam. So they said, La ilaha illallah Musa Rasulullah. They embraced al-Islam. So now they were Muslims. And then it was revealed that for them to have a complete repentance, that they have to kill themselves. This is in the Quran. For them to have a complete repentance. Some scholars interpreted it, said no, what it means was that they had to kill each other, that group of people. That it became an obligation. An obligation is something good. So in those times, those people were ordered to do something, okay, as I mentioned, and it was considered an obligation, it was something good. But now in these laws, the laws revealed to Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, for a person to kill an innocent person, this is a major sin. For a person to commit suicide, this is an enormous sin. So what was considered obligatory and good at one time, because Allah ordered it, is now bad and haram because Allah forbade it. So a person's morality comes from where exactly? From the religious law. So what was good at one time might be bad at another time. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, because in both matters, in doing something or staying away from something, in both of them, one is obeying Allah. One is saying, okay, what has Allah ordered? I do it, okay, I'm doing it. What has Allah ordered to leave it? I'm leaving it. Yeah? So, me from myself, from my own brain, let's say, and you, we can't say whether something is good or bad. We have to ask, what did the Prophet say about it? Alayhi salatu wassalam. So when Ibrahim alayhi salam was ordered to slaughter his son Ismail, he did not hesitate, because this was the order of Allah Ta'ala. So, you know the story, mashallah. And this was, of course, very, very tough, because although it's an obligation, a human being a human is a human. So although Ibrahim alayhi salam did not hesitate for a second even, he did not hesitate at all, while he was preparing his son, speaking to his son, he was crying, because he loved his son. And of course, Allah is just and Allah is fair. But this matter was an obligation. And this matter was considered good at that time. But nowadays, if someone does that in these laws, it's not something good. That was one specific situation. Now, everything that Allah orders, it doesn't mean that it has to happen. Allah ordered Ibrahim alayhi salam, ordered him to slaughter his son, but Allah didn't will for it to happen. You know, he tried to cut, he didn't cut. Tried to cut again, he didn't cut, and so on. Allah ordered it, but did not will for it to happen. Okay? This is one of the reasons, because Ibrahim alayhi salam, of course, he was a prophet, he wouldn't hesitate. This is one of the reasons why he is the second best prophet. Can you imagine that? About 124,000 of these elite men, these super men, in a league of their own. And the second best is whom? Ibrahim alayhi salam. Because of this. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he later was ordered to reconstruct the Kaaba, because like we said, it had been destroyed in the time of Nuh alayhi salam. The walls of the Kaaba were raised, and Ibrahim alayhi salam stood on a stone, which is known today as Maqam Ibrahim. Maqam Ibrahim, it doesn't mean that he's buried there, his footprint is there on that stone that would miraculously, it would go higher. He would take the bricks from Ismail, and the stone would go higher so he could reconstruct the top layers, the top parts of the Kaaba. Each time the walls were raised a level, that stone rose up carrying Ibrahim alayhi salam. With each stone they made supplication to Allah. They said, Ya Allah, accept this obedience from us. You are attributed with hearing and knowledge. So there is a footprint today on that stone, the footprint of Ibrahim alayhi salam, where he stood. And it is actually the footprint of Ibrahim alayhi salam. When Ibrahim alayhi salam finished constructing the Kaaba, Ibrahim alayhi salam was ordered, as Allah revealed in the Quran, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ, which means, Ibrahim, call out and inform the people that Al-Hajj is obligatory upon them. So, in an extraordinary way, all of the souls that would perform Al-Hajj after that, even people who had not yet been born. But if you recall, in one of the previous sessions, we'd mentioned that all the souls had already been created. Even souls that are to come, that are people that are to be born 200 or 300 years from now, their souls already exist because they were all created at once. So all the souls of the people who would perform Al-Hajj in the nation of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and in this nation, and in every other nation after that, they heard this call of Hajj is an obligation. Jibreel alayhi salam descended and taught Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam the different acts of Al-Hajj. And Ibrahim alayhi salam was ordered to set the boundary of Al-Haram al-Makki. So Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam said, Inna Ibrahim alayhi salam harrama Makkah wa inni harramtu al-Madinah. So within the vicinity, there is a certain vicinity within which there are special rules. This is called Al-Haram al-Makki. Al-Haram, with the meme on the end, Al-Haram al-Makki. Ibrahim alayhi salam is the one that set that from one particular place to another particular place. And as for Al-Madinah, the Prophet said alayhi salatu wasalam that I set it for Al-Madinah. So it has a particular, there's a particular, let's say, limit from here to there that is considered to be the Haram of Al-Madinah, and there are special rules that pertain to that. For example, one is not allowed to take the soil from that area or stones from that area, like some people sometimes might do. They might take the soil of Al-Madinah in general. No, this is not allowed. Or a stone. This is not allowed either. And there are other rules also. Lady Hajar, she passed away before. So Lady Hajar, who was the mother of whom? You're hesitant there. No. Ismail alayhi salam. Lady Hajar passed away first, before Lady Sarah. And she passed away in Mecca. Lady Sarah passed away in the land of Ash-Sham. So Ismail alayhi salam was the first son of Ibrahim. As for in the perverted Torah, nowadays we call it the so-called Torah, that which the Jews have, which they call the Old Testament even, this has been perverted, it's been changed. In that it claims that Ibrahim alayhi salam was ordered to slaughter his first son Ishaq, or Isaac. This is not the case. This is not what we say. Ibrahim alayhi salam, you'll know he's known as Khalilullah, which is an exclusive title. You can only say Khalilullah about two people in the universe, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That's because they reached a station, a rank, a lofty, high rank, called Maqam al-Khullah. Khullah. And Khalil here, Khalilullah, doesn't mean friend. We're not allowed to say friend of Allah. Sometimes some people, they loosely translate it like that. No, this word, it's not appropriate to say friend of Allah. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is not attributed with having friends, just as Allah is not attributed with having family members or cousins and so on. So Khalilullah means the one whose heart is full of love for Allah and the one who is fully dedicated to Allah. This is only said about Prophet Muhammad, as the Prophet told us actually in a hadith, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It's only said about Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam and Prophet Ibrahim. We don't use this title Khalilullah about the other prophets. Allah revealed 10 booklets, so not books like the Quran, but 10 sheets to Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was 80 years of age. He was 80 years of age when the order of Allah came that he must circumcise. It is known that Ibrahim alayhi salam was extremely merciful, and he was the best of prophets after Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Once, on one occasion, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Allah revealed in the Quran, وَكَذَلِكَ نُرِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلِيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ. This ayah means, indeed, Allah showed Ibrahim the magnificent dominion of the skies and the earth. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was shown from where he was on earth, he was shown up above into the skies, until from where he was on the earth, he saw the stars and the skies, and until he saw the arsh. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala gave him this great, extraordinary matter, that he saw the arsh. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, it is said that he is buried in Palestine, in Palestine. He is buried in an area known as Al-Khalil or Hebron, and there are others that are said to be buried. Sayyidina Ishaq, his wives or his wife, and others are said to be buried there. Ibrahim alayhi salam, therefore, he is the honorable, the noble, great-great-grandfather of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sometimes they call him the patriarch of all of the religions. Now, of course, the only religion, as Allah revealed in the Quran, is al-Islam. Allah revealed, Inna ad-deen inda Allah al-Islam. Allah didn't reveal, Inna ad-deen inda Allah al-Yahudiyyah, that Judaism is the religion accepted by Allah. Allah didn't reveal, Inna ad-deen inda Allah al-Nasraniyyah, that Christianity is the religion accepted by Allah. No. Allah revealed, Inna ad-deen inda Allah al-Islam, which means Adam alayhi salam was upon what? Al-Islam. Likewise his son Sheeth, likewise Habil and Qabil, the sons of Adam. Likewise all the other prophets, including Prophet Musa alayhi salam. He wasn't a Jew, he was a Muslim. He was upon al-Islam. Likewise Isa alayhi salam, he wasn't a Christian. He was not a Christian, he was a Muslim. And likewise Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. So what some people sometimes, when they say this, that Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was the patriarch of all of the religions, what they mean is that, even though we don't say this statement, they mean that, well, Musa alayhi salam came from him because You have Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ishaq, Yaqub, his 12 sons, and then you have Musa alayhi salam coming after that. Musa and Harun, to whom a Torah was revealed. So they say, well, he was the great-grandfather of Musa. Then they say, well, also Isa alayhi salam, you have Ibrahim alayhi salam, then Ishaq, then Yaqub alayhi salam. You have the 12 sons of Yaqub, and from one of their lineages comes Prophet Isa alayhi salam. And to him was revealed the original Bible, the original Gospel, Al-Injil. So, and they say, well, also the Islamic prophet, they say the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam comes from Ibrahim, not from Ishaq now, but from Ismail, all the way down to Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. But all of these prophets, they were Muslims. They were Muslims. So it shows, and all of the lineages go back to Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. So you can see what a special prophet he was, alayhi salam. Just a note, you can say about any of the prophets, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This is not a title that is exclusive to our prophet, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. You can say Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and you can say Prophet Muhammad alayhi as-salatu was-salam, or alayhi salam even. Likewise with the other prophets. You can say Nuh sallallahu alayhi wasallam. There's no problem in that. Or Nuh alayhi salam. Okay? Like that, you can say radiyallahu anhu about one of the companions like Sayyiduna Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu. May Allah accept his deeds, that's what it means. But you can say it about a pious person, another pious person who wasn't a companion, who came after that. You can say, for example, Al-Imam Abu Hanifa radiyallahu anhu. You can say Al-Imam Al-Shafi'i radiyallahu anhu, Al-Shaykh Abdul Qadir Al-Jilani radiyallahu anhu, and he lived some 500 years after the companions. So you can say these statements about pious people. Okay? I remember on one occasion I had mentioned in a lesson I gave maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and I said about one of the prophets, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and it was a prophet other than Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and some people objected because they'd never heard this before. But this is something that's known and that you can say about the prophets, all the prophets of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. There are many other miracles that occurred in the time of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, but unfortunately we do not have time to go through all of them. But whenever we study a biography of one of the prophets or one of the pious people, something always stands out with the pious people, that they always propagated the Islamic teachings in a wise way. And they always obeyed Allah. They always were ready to order what is obligatory and forbid what is haram. So they would not be negligent in that. Our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, مَنْ رَأَى مِنْكُمْ مُنْكَرًا فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ. Whoever among you knows about a haram taking place. It could be something like somebody stealing an apple, or it could be something as gruesome as somebody beating one of their parents. Could be something, someone swearing at somebody. It could be somebody who stole some money. Could be somebody whose land was from here to here, but they moved that which was separating their land from somebody else's. They moved it so as to get 2 more inches of land. That's a major sin. So if somebody knows of a haram, whatever that is, right, our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam ordered us to put a stop to it. If we can go in this situation and move it back without a greater harm occurring, we go and do that. Or we speak to the person at least so that they feel like, or at least, so at least they feel like, oh, there's somebody watching me, or there's somebody has come to rectify my situation, somebody's come to tell me off. This idea of telling people off, a lot of people need a telling off. It's not just children. Grown men and grown women, they need to be, if you want to put it like this, told off about certain things. The Bani Israel, the Muslims among them, Allah revealed about them that, or Bani Israel in general, that they were damned. The signs of the endowments of Allah were taken away from them. For what reason? كانوا لا يتناهون عن منكر فعلوه. Whenever somebody would do something haram, they would turn a blind eye. Whenever something haram would be going on, even in the street, they would turn the other way, as though to say, it's none of my business. So because this kept happening, and there was no telling off, right? There was no reprimanding, there was no disciplining, like verbally, right? People then started to develop this audacity to do again and again, and more and more and more, until the state became what the state became, that state. So they were damned, yani la'na, that's what it means. To be damned, lu'inu means to be damned. The signs of the bestowing the mercy of Allah, these signs were taken away from the people. Sometimes when a group of people, a large group of people, even Muslims, when they start to commit sins, then they are afflicted with a hardship. Sayyiduna Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma said, "Ma nazala bala'un illa bidhanb," which means that a general calamity, like an earthquake, like a flood, like a tsunami, like a volcanic eruption that destroys many, many people, like a thunderstorm or a hurricane or a wind that hits a Muslim country, this general catastrophe, it doesn't occur except because of a sin. And it occurs because of a sin. So when the people, they become sinful, even if there are good people among them, there's the odd good person among them, the calamity falls on all of them. Those good people then, they will be resurrected on the Day of Judgment according to their situation. But the general, let's say, calamity falls upon all those people in that area. That's why when Nuh alayhi salam went to his people, their crops had died because they became non-Muslims. Their crops had died, and the women couldn't bear children. None of them could bear children. So Nuh alayhi salam said, "Istaghfiru rabbakum innahu kana ghaffara." Seek repentance. Say, leave your kufr and stop worshipping idols. Say, La ilaha illallah, Nuh Rasulullah. Say that and Allah will forgive you of kufr. Yumdidkum bimalin wa banin. And if you do that, Allah will give you wealth. Allah will give you sons. Allah will give you children. Allah will make it rain down on your crops. Allah will give you fruit and vegetables and food, sustenance. All you have to do is stop the biggest injustice that you're doing, which is that you're committing kufr. So these are all things to think about. Remaining obedient to Allah, because all of us are going to one place. We're all going to our own grave. So it's very, very important that we constantly think about this. Sometimes we hear a good advice and it only lasts a few seconds. Sometimes it might last a day. One of the scholars gave an example of that. They said that if he gave the example of a whip, I'm going to give the example of a finger. Okay, if you hit your own hand, the back of your hand really hard with your finger, stings for a little bit. But then as time goes by, it gets less and less and less. That is the effect of good words sometimes, a lot of the time. You hear something good, you think, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna sort my life out now. Like I'm really gonna, I'm gonna put my head on straight, and I'm gonna really sort my life out. I'm gonna pray all my prayers. I'm gonna pray at the beginning of the time. I'm gonna make wudu, a full wudu. I'm gonna fix my situation with my sibling, my parent, my son, or however, with my son-in-law, my daughter-in-law. I'm gonna fix things. Then after that, when the gathering is left, what happens? A person goes and says, I'll get a burger. I'll watch this. I'll ring that person. They forget. They forget. Not that eating a burger is a bad thing or ringing a friend is a bad thing, but you get on with life. So it's important for a person to continually be reminded and act as a reminder for other people, because your actions and your behavior, it does a lot of the time speak louder than words, even though it's a bit cliche, but yeah, it's true. Actions, they speak louder than words a lot of the time. So people learn through your behavior. Children learn through your behavior. Likewise, adults, they learn through our behavior. So we have role models like Ibrahim alayhi salam, and all the prophets, and then the pious people that followed them. So I advise you to continue listening to the good. Want good for yourselves, for your children, for your siblings, for everybody. One way in which to do that is, or the only way to do that, firstly, is to acquire the Islamic knowledge and to implement it. And we'll stop here today, insha'Allah ta'ala. Let's say, La ilaha illallah, and as-salah ala nabi, La ilaha illallah, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim.